into everything I do, and I've loved acting with a burning passion since I was a child. So even as a kid, I was auditioning a lot and trying really hard, and I trained really hard for acting even when I was a kid. I think the first time I realized that I could be interested in both sides, behind the camera and in front of the camera, was then. But I always loved films and the idea of it, and I kind of always knew I wanted to have a bigger say in acting because something I experienced even early on. I think I looked up to my mom's friend that was making her movie at the time that helped me realize that women could run the show because obviously a lot of sets are very male dominated. But I don't think I have. I would love a mentor for filmmaking out here. I think it's more of connecting with people who are more on my level and helping each other grow together is the most underappreciated, overworked one of the most because it's great. There's no union for them, which is insane. They have no union and the hours are insane. You're there all day, all night. The turnaround times are crazy. I mean, I know some VFX PAs that worked for over 40 days straight. It just becomes, one job to the next, and you live like that, and you get a little bit of a break in between. But this project had been going on for years, and it was a lot. It was stressful, but it taught me a lot. Introduction into the film world, and I have no regrets. I loved it while I was doing it, but also realized that there is no way to do that and act. There's no time for side projects. There's barely time for friends. I didn't see anyone. I never did anything because you're working so much. But after doing it for a bit, I was able to have a steady income. And then when I switched to acting, that was hard. I had I had to work four, sometimes five jobs just to pay my bills. And it's been a struggle ever since. So, uh, yeah, I think it was worth it for me at the time. But now, longevity wise, I don't think for me it is. I did Godzilla versus Kong. I did I did a little bit on Fresh in post. And then my favorite one that I worked on was Dune. That was awesome. That was one of my favorite experiences in film ever. And I never would have been able to do that if it wasn't for doing VFX prior. And that was in the pandemic. And I got to review shots with Denis and his wife, Tanya, who's incredible, in a theater. And that was just one of the most incredible experiences. And writing more, I've discovered, and acting, is that the writing is everything. Without good writing, you don't have a good project. You can have the fanciest VFX in the world, and without a good script, you don't have anything people want to see. That's where the real gems of film start. Any good project has to have good writing. But I think studios are just afraid to spend the money on anything new, and it's really sad. There's so many talented people, so many incredible directors and writers that, or specifically writers. There's so many talented writers who write these amazing scripts, and they never see the light of day because people don't want to invest the money in it. They don't want to take the risk. Hundreds of millions of people have seen it now, and they would have made a lot of good money, but they didn't know. And so they send things straight to Netflix. And I think even when they have big films that are in theaters, they're in theaters for a week or two just to get that, the Oscar minimum, whatever it is, of showing in theaters. And so many people don't see so many of these great big feature films made by visionary directors in on the big screen. And I think that's really disappointing. Incredible movies. Those movies go down in history, and so do the books. And I think that's really rare and something I aspire to do is create projects that do literature justice because I love books. And I love movies. Laughing. I don't think I've heard that before.
Don't Google it too.
Oh, now I'm so curious. I have to do it. We get it doesn't even say it. Gerund or present particle. Oh. My name is Ardenn Stolz. I'm a filmmaker, actress, writer, producer. Yeah.
Hey everyone, this is Abhi from No-Budget Filmmaking Podcast, and here with me is Arden. Hi Arden.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So for those who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, my name is Ardenn Stolz. I'm a filmmaker, actress, writer, producer. Yeah, wear many hats like so many other filmmakers out there.
When did you enter this industry and how it all started?
Yeah, so I started acting when I was a kid. When I was 8, I started in theater, and I did theater on the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey. So, I did theater for my whole life, and then I got into film in high school. My mom's friend was making a movie and let me be a PA, and that's when I fell in love with film behind the scenes aspect because I always knew I wanted to be an actor on screen, but that was my first time working on set and I fell in love with it. And so then I decided to pursue filmmaking at school. So then I went to college in at UMiami and I studied motion pictures and theater and public relations and used all those things. Worked on a few sets, PA'd, did wardrobe, did uh, makeup. I tried every aspect of film. And then I came out to Los Angeles 7 years ago, going on 8, I think. And I started in visual effects out here. So I actually started in post-production and did that for a little while and then decided I wanted to go back to acting. And so I stopped doing that and focused my time on acting and writing and producing. And since then, I've been doing indie projects and acting wherever I can and dabbling a little in theater, but mainly screen stuff and yeah, more pre-production, production, less post. But obviously, producing still has some post stuff in it.
Project, was that the point you started taking the whole acting and the film industry and the theater entertainment industry in general seriously, or was it way before?
Yeah, it was definitely before. I always took it really seriously. I go I'm pretty intense at everything I do, and I've loved acting with a burning passion since I was a child. So even as a kid, I was auditioning a lot and trying really hard, and I trained really hard for acting even when I was a kid. I think the first time I realized that I could be interested in both sides, behind the camera and in front of the camera, was then. But I always loved films and the idea of it, and I kind of always knew I wanted to have a bigger say in acting because something I experienced even early on before that point was being in a production and wanting to say more about the character and how I thought things should go and not being able to because actors have less of a say in those things. So I always knew I wanted to have more of a voice, and I think production gives you that a little bit, but it's hard to do both. So, yeah, I think I always took it seriously, but I think the filmmaking, that's when I started taking that seriously. I always took acting very seriously. Yeah.
And what was the most what did inspired you to do all of this? Was there a movie, an individual who you admired and take it as a mentor, or took it as a mentor, or what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say my mom definitely got me into film. Me and my mom love watching movies together and would watch everything under the sun. And so that's where my love of film really bloomed. And then as a kid, I went to the same acting studio as Anne Hathaway. She's from New Jersey. And so I was always, and that was right around the time of Princess Diaries. So I always said, oh, I want to do that. I want to be like Anne. Not that we were there at the same time. She had gotten out before I started, but had major commercial success when I was a kid. So I definitely looked up to her, I would say. Oh, there's so many actresses that I've looked up to my entire life. I think Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock, I've always admired as a kid because she would make me laugh so hard in some movies and then cry in others. And I thought that was something so special that I would love to have the ability to do. So, yeah, I could go on. I mean, there's a million actresses that I admire and inspired me, but Yeah, the person closest to my heart that really got me started with any of those actresses is my mom.
What about mentors for behind the camera? Like, do you have a favorite director, producer
That's a
that
good
inspires you?
question. Yeah, I think this actually ties into the last question of actresses that inspire me because she's not my mentor. That would be amazing. But Reese Witherspoon, I really admire because she started her own production company and decided to do adaptations. So I'm a big reader. I've always loved reading. That's my second love, aside from acting and films, is books. And I love that she took books that she loved with strong female leads and made them into movies. That is something that has always really inspired me. So I don't have a mentor, I would say, in the filmmaking world. I think I looked up to my mom's friend that was making her movie at the time that helped me realize that women could run the show because obviously a lot of sets are very male dominated. But I don't think I would love a mentor for filmmaking out here. I think it's more of connecting with people who are more on my level and helping each other grow together. And yeah, people like Reese Witherspoon seeing that she was able to do it. But I wish I had a direct mentor in my own life. That would be really nice. Still looking. Applications are open.
Well, it's a funny coincidence. I just edited one episode, and her name is Jean Marie, and she is, I don't want to say her age wrong, but she's been in the industry for almost 2 or 3 decades, and she is directing, and she owns her production firm and everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah. If you want, I can send you her profile and you can hit her up.
I would
And
love that. That would be fantastic.
yeah, and she is really she's a really, I would say, wise and most calming person I've talked to, because the reason a little bit sidetracked, but I have to finish this thought to get calm my ADHD. But
Yeah.
this was one of the toughest teaser for a podcast I had to edit, because there was so many golden nuggets throughout the conversation. It felt like I'm doing something wrong when I was editing that part out for the teaser. So that was good.
I love that. That's the best kind of problem to have. Too
Yeah.
much quality content. Oh no.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Yeah, I would love to be connected with her.
Yes, I would
Thank you.
share her profile with you, and she would obviously on Monday the teaser would be live, so I'll send it to her, and she we will collab on Instagram too. So just in case I forget, she's right there. Um, okay. Speaking of
Perfect. Yeah,
which,
I'm excited to hear that.
the move from Los Angeles, was it? It was pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah, it was pre-pandemic. It was 2018.
Hmm. And why? Okay, sounds ridiculous to ask, but why did you do it, and who supported it, and what? Because we all know that East Coast and West Coast are completely two different things. Sometimes it feels like two different countries. So how was there a cultural shock in a way too?
Yeah, it was really tough. I came out here with nobody, no support. I had a single friend who is not in the industry and also had nobody out here except her girlfriend at the time, and they were in a very toxic relationship. And I was sleeping on their couch, and it was not the best. But yeah, my family supported me coming out here. They were upset, obviously, because it's very far, but my family always knew that this is what I wanted to pursue. And so I packed up my Volkswagen Beetle and I drove and I saw the entire country, 27 days with one of my best friends. It was a blast. And then landed here and stayed with my friend, was on her couch for a bit, and then found a roommate, moved in as quickly as I could, and slowly started to expand my network of people. But it's really hard in any major city to make friends and meet new people. And so I think filmmaking actually gave me a basis for community which is something that I never had on the East Coast for creative filmmaking aside from school, because not everybody is in it. Where most people you talk to out here are trying to pursue something creative out there. A lot of my friends were in finance, law, stuff like that. And so it was really nice to find people to talk with that had the same passions and dreams as me. And that really helped me build a community out here and has made the world of a difference. It was really hard when I first got here. I felt very isolated. And when I started in VFX, I was working, six, sometimes 7 days a week, 14-hour days. I mean, it was crazy. And so I didn't see anyone ever. And it was really isolating because I couldn't make friends. Once I left that industry and I focused on meeting people and networking more and building my community, it since then, the past few years has felt like home. And that's really nice. And I love New York, East Coast. My plan is to go back there eventually. And I think that's becoming more possible with all the studios opening up there and everything becoming so virtual. Before the pandemic, I don't think it was as easy to be located somewhere else. So I'm glad that things are expanding, and I plan on continuing my base with people out here and over there. I think it's great that they're so different, but they go well with each other in the fact that they have a style and they're trying to create something and unique. And yeah, I love LA. Now I love LA. It took me a bit, but now I really do love California and trying to be bi-coastal. Honestly, that's the goal, is to be fully bi-coastal.
Mm. I bet you're loving California because it's not snowing right now.
Exactly. Because it was 76 instead of 16.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best part of California. You pay for the weather, right?
Exactly.
Okay, since you brought up an interesting point of your life, um, and one of the most interesting and notoriously uh, overworked, underpaid individual, the VFX artist, I really want to talk about it. So, first of all, what made you go into that industry?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I studied abroad in Australia. And I was living in this apartment building that had a bar underneath it. And it was the bar for a few hotels there. And the crew and some of the cast of Aquaman was in that other hotel. And so they would come to the bar that was attached to my hotel, or not my hotel, my apartment complex when I was abroad. And I made friends with a guy because we both collect Beatles records. And we stayed in touch. It was so random, but it was so fun. He's a great guy and stayed in touch all those years. And then when I moved out to LA, I reached out to him. We got lunch and he said, "Oh, it's funny. Perfect timing. The assistant is about to leave. She needs to go renew her visa. And there's going to be an opening. She's been doing two jobs. So the plan is for her to leave, someone come in and do both jobs, and then she comes back and takes the higher job." So he got me an interview at Universal, and I did that, and it was really fun. I really liked it, but like you're saying, it is the most underappreciated, overworked one of the most because it's great. There's no union for them, which is insane. They have no union, and the hours are insane. You're there all day, all night. The turnaround times are crazy. I mean, I know some VFX PAs that worked for over 40 days straight. It's just insane. 20 hours at one point. Like for the assistant I know, luckily I didn't get to that point. But it was so stressful and so high demanding that my hair was falling out. I was a mess. I didn't make any friends. I couldn't see anyone. Uh, and I think they just get so used to it being like that that it just becomes, one job to the next, and you live like that and you get a little bit of a break in between. But this project had been going on for years. And it was a lot. It was stressful, but it taught me a lot. I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun, and I love working on movies. I love working on the set, at the studio. That was really fun. And it was a great introduction into the film world, and I have no regrets. I loved it while I was doing it, but also realized that there is no way to do that and act. There's no time for side projects. There's barely time for friends. I didn't see anyone. I never did anything because you're working so much. It's crazy. So that becomes your life. I mean, the one person who had a family had to quit because he never saw his family. So you really you sacrifice so much to be in that industry. And again, it's not the people that are thanked or appreciated at the end of the day. So it's hard. And what wasn't really for me, but I'm glad that I did it while I did it. And I learned a lot and I met great people and I got to work on cool movies. So I'm happy I did it then. But yeah, I had to focus on why I came out here, which was for acting and making my own projects. And yeah,
Um, First of all, was the pay worth it?
I think for the experience and the time that I was there, yes. But I think long term, debatable because, like we're saying, it's underpaid, underappreciated. I mean, even the people at the top are working so hard, and I don't think they have a huge payout like some other individuals on, in the production side, post-production side. So, um, and it was minimum wage, but I made a lot of overtime because I was working so often. So it ended up being enough to hold me. And then, I did get raises as I did it, and I had a stable income. I mean, I was able to live by myself, get myself a car, do the things that I wasn't able to do, and set myself up in a more comfy way because it is stable work, even though you don't get health insurance or pension or any of that stuff. There's no benefits. And when you're done, you're done. It's not like a steady salary. But after doing it for a bit, I was able to have a steady income. And then when I switched to acting, that was hard. I had I had to work four, sometimes five jobs just to pay my bills. And it's been a struggle ever since. So, uh, yeah, I think it was worth it for me at the time. But now, longevity wise, I don't think for me it it is. But for others, I think it makes sense if you don't want to do specifically what I'm doing.
What about what movies did you work on?
Yeah, so well now I'm nervous because I was like I don't know if it's like talking ill of the industry. I loved everyone I work with. Let me say that. I loved all the people that I worked with. They're really talented and hardworking. That first movie was Dr. Dolittle, which was a crazy experience and a bit of a dumpster fire. Just because they had three directors, it kept getting pushed. It was a lot of unknowns and variables. But again, fun in a chaotic way. And I learned a lot. And I'm not speaking ill of it. I did love working at Universal. And then I switched over I also did stereoscopic conversion, which is 3D. And what did I do after that? I did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I did Godzilla versus Kong. I did, I did a little bit on Fresh. In post. And then my favorite one that I worked on was Dune. That was awesome. That was one of my favorite experiences in film ever. And I never would have been able to do that if it wasn't for doing VFX prior. And that was in the pandemic. And I got to review shots with Denis and his wife, Tanya, who's incredible, in a theater. And that was just one of the most incredible experiences. So I wouldn't take any of it back because it led to that experience of getting to work on that film. And I loved that book series because I told him I'm a big reader. And so it was a really cool moment for me. And after that is when I said, yeah, after I had to step away and focus on acting again.
So, wow. By the way, I love Dune books too, so that's amazing. So you were working for DNEG, Double Negative?
No, that was one of the vendors. I was working as a VFX coordinator, so I got hired and a stereoscopic coordinator. So I got hired from the studio, and they would hire me and a whole team, and then we would work with DNEG with MP, not MP3. That's funny. I've been working with audio files now, and so I think, but it's and
ILM,
MPN, I think it is. Wow, I honestly forget. It's been years now, but
ILM,
it's a
Industry
little
Light and
familiar.
Magic.
But I mean, they hire tons of vendors to do all of these shots. So one company will do thousands of them, and then another company will do a certain scene. Lola like just does certain beauty things. So it's you work with tons of different companies in that, but you get hired by the studio and then work with all those companies. So yeah,
Hmm. What was it like to work with Denis Villeneuve?
it was amazing. He's so great. It's like truly one of the best experiences. He was really special in the way that he gave notes about things. It was all very collaborative, and he would say things like, "Oh, well, do you think that that space is a little too wide there? Maybe we can, use the depth in a certain way. What do you think?" It was all very collaborative, open question type constructive thoughts and comments. And I thought that was really special because most directors say, a big part of directing is being making decisions, which is why I don't direct. I tried it and I did not like it because I don't like making decisions like that. But a lot of them say, do this, do that, but I thought he was really special because he would say, well, what do you guys think? Maybe we should do this. Um, yeah, it was really nice. He's incredible. He's so smart. And it was his passion project. He had loved Dune, and it was really cool getting to see him work on something that he was so passionate about. And his wife, Tanya, is incredible. She's such a kind human being and also had really great opinions and they gave great recommendations for shows and movies too. Uh, anytime they had mentioned anything, I'm like, oh, quick, write that down. Gotta go watch that one. Yeah, it was a dream.
Like what shows? You have to name drop.
Oh, I don't remember now. This was years ago, but I just remember writing them all down and watching everything they said, and then being like finishing things they said so much later, and being like, oh, I wish I could still talk to them, but I did not. So yeah, I'll have to think about it. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I honestly don't remember. I'm sure I still have it in a notes app. But yeah.
Okay, there's one more thing about VFX industry that I want to ask before I move on.
Mhm.
It's how much of it is just before that, if I remember correctly, there used to be collaborative in a way. Like there used to be models, there was be miniatures, something that is physically there, and then you put bells and whistles on top of it. That's what I remember from Lord of the Rings and all the earlier movies. Right now, there's none of that for some unknown reason. Is that true?
Yeah, I definitely think I think it depends on who the filmmaker is because some filmmakers have definitely moved toward all CGI, build it all virtually. But there's still a lot of filmmakers that do practical, and like what you're saying is practical VFX and then build on top of that. I thought the year that I was working at Universal, First Man had basically almost all practical VFX, and they won VFX that year for the Oscar. Even though Ready Player One was nominated, and my boss had worked on that, and he's incredibly talented, and that's so cool. But that was all more CG. Same with Avengers, I think was nominated at the time. More digital assets being created. And so I think people still value practical VFX, and you can tell the difference. And I think audiences want it. But then I also think not doing practical and just creating things from digital, the possibilities are endless. Creativity is unlimited in that realm. And so I think it just depends on the story you're trying to tell and what you're trying to do. I mean, James Cameron has created entire worlds and created VFX technology. And I think sometimes he uses certain animatronics and structures, but most of that is build up around it. So it's come really far and it's really cool. But it's funny being on sets and seeing, dots on a horse stick or something like that. Uh, and that's the dragon, or whatever it is. And VFX is, you think it's just for these big fights and big films like Star Wars and stuff, but the last project I worked on was a short, and just a few of the prosthetics had some green tape on them to work with it later. So I think VFX is applicable in so many different ways. And yeah, I think people do appreciate practical effects. Yeah.
Yeah. And because it's there, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not sure if you remember the time when it was just like um, what's the word? Where there was just like clay models and
Mhm.
clay animation in between. That was like Argonauts and Sinbad and the Argonauts or something like that. And that movie was really good because the practical effects was there and it's there, you know what I mean? So that's good. But I get what you're saying. Ready Player One was good. It was really, really good. Ready Player One was really good.
Amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. And also Love, Death and Robots.
I still never saw that, and I heard great things. So this is my reminder.
It's the three season. Some of them are mind blowing. It's so good. Tim
That's
Miller
amazing.
really went. And Secret Level, it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if you have seen that one.
I haven't seen that one either. Secret Level. Okay, I have to check that out. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
people are so talented. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And VFX lets you make anything you want. The sky's the limit. It's incredible what people can do with the technology that they have today.
Did you work with not worked, but did you handle any motion capture projects or shots where they use motion capture? Because I have no idea how that works.
Uh,
And Avatar was really is the one who pioneered in that one.
yeah, I saw some motion capture stuff and it was really cool. I was only there. Well, I didn't work on motion capture. I just happened to be there and catch a glimpse of it for one of these movies. And it was really interesting. But as a voice actor, I do voice acting. I'm really trying to get more into motion capture because they use it a lot for video games, especially. And I think it's really cool. And yeah, like you're saying, Avatar, I think it just takes animating and bringing the actor's intent and the little nuances of their expressions into the transition into digital. I think it's such an incredible invention. And I love watching those videos of the of the actor and then seeing it, in post afterward is really so cool. So I want to get more into motion capture. I have a friend who specializes in it and does a lot of video game work, and it's a craft of its own.
Yeah. And I love Avatar movies, but honestly, I cannot watch them. I can only watch them in theater if that makes sense. And I don't rewatch them more. I don't know why.
Yeah, those are movies that are made for the movie theater, which I love. I love a movie theater movie. I mean, that's why people went to see it in theaters. That's why it made billions of dollars, because people know that that's the type of movie that you see in a movie theater. And I think there are certain movies like that. I think Dune was one of them. I think that deserves to be seen. When I saw that, and I'm sure Avatar is going to be the same thing where they have them as options on airplanes. Like, if you're watching these movies on an airplane screen, you're doing it wrong. Those movies are not made for an airplane. If you missed it in theaters, at least try and see it on a big screen. It's just doing it such a disservice to put on that tiny little screen. I think it's not you have to see them in theaters, but I think the director's vision is that they want you to see it in theaters, and it is better in theaters. Just because you don't get to see it in theaters doesn't, stop it from being an incredible movie and able to rewatch over and over again. I think Avatar is more of the visual spectacle than it is about plot. The plot is very similar to a lot of stories we've seen before. So I think that's why we're not jumping to rewatch those, is because they're kind of stories that we know and it's more about the visuals. Whereas something like Dune, or I'm trying to think of a good example of something that's still better in movies, but still good on the TV, is that there's more plot going on. Even though we know what's happening, it's a unique story, and so we're more likely to go and see it again. Um, it's a little bit less, I don't want to say formulaic, because I do think there's still some twists and turns in Avatar, but I do think the power of it is the visuals, and so you want to see it in theaters. And I haven't rewatched any of them. You're right. I haven't rewatched any of them out of theaters, but I only ever saw Titanic on a movie screen. I mean, on a at home screen. I never saw Titanic in theaters, and I love that movie, and I've rewatched that. So yeah, I think it just depends on the movie.
James Cameron himself, like Terminator 2, you can watch it anywhere, even on your phone, and you'll love it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I just think sometimes directors, and I'd rather somebody see something than not see something. I'd rather you watch it than not watch it. But if you have the option between a giant projector that's calibrated for optimal viewing, and I think something that I also really loved about Denny that he mentioned is using depth as a tool. So he would purposely place things in certain places to give it that big feeling. And that's that same big feeling you get with things like Star Wars and any big world building projects are just always going to be more immersive on a big screen. And I think you can get it a little bit on a smaller screen, but when you're really scaling it down, you do lose that element of feeling like you're immersed in the world a little bit. So if you're not going to see it at all or see it on a small screen, still see it on the small screen. But if you're choosing your medium, I think the bigger the screen, the better.
and it's more about you'll be able to forget the clunky special effects if you're too invested in the story too.
Exactly. Yes. And that's why you shouldn't rely on VFX or, SFX to carry a story. I think, especially since leaving that portion of the industry and writing more, I've discovered, and acting, is that the writing is everything. Without good writing, you don't have a good project. You can have the fanciest VFX in the world, and without a good script, you don't have anything people want to see. That's where the real gems of film start. Any good project has to have good writing.
Yes, as Hitchcock say, I need three things to make a movie, and that's script, script, and script. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you come across that when because it's not in secret anymore that streaming services, including Netflix, do not want you to see a complex movie that you have to pay attention. They just want you to see a normal movie that keeps going, and the plot has been explained two times and nothing is like hidden in the details. It has to be out there. But funny enough, Netflix is the one that's still giving work to a bunch of auteurs like um, Guillermo del Toro, Martin Scorsese, and I'm forgetting David Fincher. So,
Yeah. I think they do everything. I think they put their money into big blockbuster films like that. And as you mentioned, like auteur directors. But then I also think they spend a lot of money on content that you mentioned, because there is an audience for both. There's audiences for art house films, and there's audiences for the type of soap content that we were talking about, how it's constantly repeating itself. And they both perform well. Netflix had this foreign show that was very soapy called I think it's called Grand Hotel or something like that. I think it was from Spain, and my mom inhaled that series. There was like 12 seasons and there's countless episodes, and it's the same thing happening over and over again. And it's a murder mystery, and you still don't know who did it after all these seasons. And I'm just like, I cannot. But people love it. And so there is an audience for that type of content. And then there are people who want to see art house films. And my mom also loved Frankenstein. So um, the one thing that I don't love is the straight to Netflix uh, like distribution situation because as we talked about, I think some movies should be seen in theaters and some movies are missing that element. Like I wish that K-pop Demon Hunters was in theaters and I knew and had seen it in theaters because that's a movie I think would have done really well in the box office. Obviously, I mean, hundreds of millions of people have seen it now, and they would have made a lot of good money, but they didn't know. And so they send things straight to Netflix. And I think even when they have big films that are in theaters, they're in theaters for a week or two just to get that, the Oscar minimum, whatever it is, of showing in theaters. And so, so many people don't see so many of these great big feature films made by visionary directors in on the big screen. And I think that's really disappointing. I don't love that trend. But Netflix does give good budgets to filmmakers, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I loved Frankenstein, every moment of it. Even though it was kinda, well, it was more Guillermo del Toro doing his thing with the character, which was kind of not aligned with the book. Yeah, I'm assuming you have read the book.
Yeah, I read the book so long ago. Uh, and I guess I should have done a reread before seeing this movie, but I think it was so him. It was so Guillermo del Toro, and I loved it. And I think everybody did such a great job in their performances. I was not shocked because I know he's a great actor, but Jacob Elordi really had so much nuance in that character and everyone just brought it. It was so much fun. I love all things fantastical like that, especially based off of classic literature. But yeah, yeah, of course there's some elements that were changed, but that's bound to happen.
Yeah, that brings a new topic before I close it out. But how many movies or shows have you seen that being taken from the books, different books? Like I know quite a few, so and which always also involves graphic novels and comics and whatnot. But if we talk about that, V for Vendetta, it stands out in a way because it's quite different from what the book was, and both of them still work just fine.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of movies that change so much from books. I think a good example of that would be yes, I think a great example of a movie that is so different than the book, and they were both independently successful, but wildly different, was The Beach by Alex Garland. That movie was a completely different thing than the book was. I was like, is this the same? It's the same, but it's so not. They changed so much. And the movie was successful. I didn't like it personally because I really loved the book, and I think it's really hard to swallow adapted content when you liked the original and they change a lot. I think if they do it justice, and I think that's more common with classic literature because you're trying to modernize it a little bit and you're coming at it from a scope of somebody who's living in a completely different time frame. Whereas that was a similar time frame. It wasn't too big of a gap time-wise. Um, and I think sometimes you can love a series and it gets butchered, or you love a series and they do it justice. I loved the Divergent series, the books, and those movies were comically bad. But then a series like My Brilliant Friend that HBO had adapted, that was one of the best adapted to screen from book. It was so true to the story and still had the nuances of her writing, which is what makes it so special, that was a really incredible adaptation. And I think HBO does a very good job at adapting projects because I've seen a few of their adaptations where I'm like, that's good, you know. I think they did Sharp Objects as well. That was a good adaptation. But yeah, there's plenty of adaptations that change and it like hurts, you know. But for the most part, it's fun, but it's hard because so much has to get cut out of plot, you know, especially with big fantastical projects. I think Lord of the Rings, there is a lot true to the story and they change a lot. And those films are individually or independently successful, wildly successful. They have a cult following all on their own. And then the books have a cult following all on their own. And then the real lovers love both. And that's really special that they were able to make it different enough that you're still getting new information and it feels like a new story, but it's still the story that you love in the core of it. I think that was a really well adapted. Those films are just really well adapted and incredible movies. Those movies go down in history and so do the books. And I think that's really rare and something I aspire to do is create projects that do literature justice because I love books. Mm. And I love movies.
Yeah. Like Fight Club comes to mind. Fight Club changed a lot and it still works. It works wonders. American Psycho, uh, and more. One was I was thinking, which one was thinking? Ready Player One. I didn't like the novel at all. The novel is, geez. It's painful to watch. Not watch here. No, read the whole book. It's painful to read the book, but they made a good movie. It was a good movie. I loved it.
I know I loved that movie too. I didn't read the book. I knew that it was a book, but that was one that I did not read. But I guess I'm glad I didn't waste my time if it's not a very good book. So, and that happens too, where you usually the book is better, right? But sometimes the movie ends up being better, and that's always shocking and a hard feat. That's how you know the filmmaker is just the best, which makes sense because I mean everyone who worked on that, that's the best of the best. So. But you can have the best of the best and still not have a great adaptation. And so it's hard to do literature justice, but they did it right. That's a really good movie. So I'm glad you said that because actually that book has been on my list for a long time and I just haven't gotten to it. So thank you for saving me the time.
I'm telling you right now, uh, if I remember correctly, there's one. I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna paraphrase it for you, and you'll know. And that's the language for the whole movie, right? Halliday loved. I watched all the Halliday classics, Mad Max, Lord Raiders of the Lost Arks, Star Wars, but the original one because the later ones Halliday didn't approve, and I believe him. And I know all the directors that he loved: Kubrick, Scorsese, Fincher, and also Kevin Smith. This is an actual line that you will read. And most of the book is like that. It's just references being thrown out to. There's one section. I'm sorry I'm saying this, okay? And I'm sorry if it is a little bit uncomfortable. I'm sorry. It's a crass thing, but I'm saying it. I'm so sorry.
No, no,
There was a literal paragraph, or was it 2 pages, of him, uh, of the writer being, jeez, I cannot even say it. Uh, 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 Condoning fapping as a good thing for your body.
like vaping?
Fap,
Fabbing? What is that?
F-A-P, fapping.
What is that fapping? I don't think I've heard that
Don't
before.
Google it too.
Oh, now I'm so curious. I have to do it. We get it doesn't even say any gerund or present particle. Oh, ah.
Yeah,
Okay, I get it now.
there's like bunch of pages or a whole paragraph. I'm not sure about related to that. So you're not
That's funny.
missing
And you know what? There's
anything.
tasteful versions of that. There's tasteful fapping in literature, but clearly that is not one of them.
Yes, fapping.
That's funny. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's not always good, but yeah, you do learn something new every day.
That's funny.
Before I let you go, is there any future projects that you want to talk about here?
Yeah, so I'm about to start fundraising for my next project, and so love a platform to talk about it because I will be posting about it. It's a short film that I wrote that I'm creating with my writers group. My writers group started a production company, and they've done a few projects, all great and great people. And I got my friend that I did the last project, the last few projects I did. Uh, he's my friend from my hometown, Scott R. McHenry, and he's directing. So I'm really excited to get going with that. So we're going to start fundraising soon, and I'll be posting about it. And yeah, it'll be good. It's a short film satirical horror. And there's like some light social commentary, but mainly for the fun of it. And yeah, it's gonna be a good one. So I'll be posting about it and yeah, so check it out.
You just have an Instagram or any other socials that we can look out for, which I will put in the description of the video, obviously.
Yeah, so it's called Treat the Movie. And we created the Instagram. We haven't started posting about it. So the plan is to start that tomorrow. I'm going to do the first post. We're going to be posting a little bit on it. It's called, like I said, Treat underscore the. I already said the. I'm losing it. Movie. Treat the movie. And we'll be doing an Indiegogo for it soon because as we know, as a filmmaker, it's really hard to get money to make a movie. So we're going to be trying to get some funds together to make this movie, and it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's the vibe is, or I guess I should say the story is that a nanny comes to this very affluent family and is watching their son. And let's just say she's not what she seems to be. Things are different than they look, and the visuals, it's going to be like loosely visually inspired by Tim Burton. So there's going to be loud colors, geometric shapes, stuff like that visually. And yeah, I got a lot of really great people on board, and I'm really excited to start pre-production and casting, and I'll be the nanny. So, which I really was in real life. So, not this nanny, don't worry. But yeah, it should be fun. And I'll be posting about it on my main page as well, the Ardenn Stolz page that you follow.
Absolutely, absolutely. It would be love to share what you are putting out there and supporting you as we all should support each other in this
Thank
current
you.
times because we are not getting studio support. That's for sure.
Exactly, exactly. And I should mention Consumed by You, which I posted about on my page already as well, is going to be coming out soon and doing the festival circuit. And we're going to be trying to get eyes on that. So that marketing campaign is going to be starting soon. So also keep your eye out for that project as well. Also directed by Scott McHenry.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It was amazing to have you here. And yeah, thank you very much for giving me your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for bringing me on and spending time with me and chatting. It was fun. I'm glad we got to talk movies and the industry and life. So, yeah, stay in touch and would love to chat more in the future and connect.
Absolutely. And cut.
Please, 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 I'm begging you. Please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe for more content.
Subscribe to my channel.